Welcome back to the Arcadian podcast. Today is episode number 12, and it is Sunday, March 31st, 2019. I am Matt Franceschi, and with me today I have Adam Wolf, Ben Bachman, and Dave Mead. Today's episode is actually going to be like a two-pronged main topic. They're both news stories. So the first one, we're just going to talk about Apple Arcade and the announcement to release in fall 2019. And then the second part, we're actually going to talk about Google Stadia again. Which, I really don't like to double up on topics, but I felt like we really went super in depth last week on what Stadia is and how we felt about the features of Stadia itself. But I was thinking about the pricing again, and I really want to hit on the pricing again more in depth. I really want to hit on an opportunity to maybe ban you from the platform and you can't play any games anymore from a censorship standpoint, and then I really want to dive into what the pricing or the potential pricing could do to the gaming industry as a whole. Three trending news stories. So we're going to talk about EA laying off 350 employees this past week, mainly from its marketing department. We're going to talk about calls for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice to potentially get an easy mode. And then we're also going to talk about Bethesda. They confirmed that they're going to be attending E3 this year, which is pretty cool, but they also confirmed that they're not going to be showing anything for Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6, which kind of makes me sad. And then two game releases and announcements. We have Divinity Fallen Heroes and Borderlands 3. But let's jump into the Apple Arcade announcement. So it's going to be releasing in fall 2019. I guess right off the bat, I was reading this, and when I first saw the announcement, I was thinking oh crap, is Apple getting into this cloud streaming as well with Google? What am I missing from these announcements? Is cloud streaming really going to be this popular in the near future? But they're extremely different products. It's going to be featuring 100 new and exclusive games that Apple is actually working on themselves. And then they're also going to be hand-picking titles that they want to be featured on the marketplace. Like I said earlier, no cloud streaming. The games are going to be downloaded probably off your phone. I expect that a lot of these are probably going to be mobile games, but I think you can play them on any Apple hardware. The pricing is looking like it's going to be a monthly subscription fee for the store. I'm not sure if you have to buy the games or what after that. So one of the potential downsides I see of this is that it's unclear that if you stop paying for the Apple Arcade, you could potentially lose access to all of the games on that platform, as well as all of your save states and things like that, which kind of stinks. And that's kind of a recurring theme, with a lot of these platforms that a lot of companies are making nowadays. But my main point here is I think that this may have a lot of success from my perspective, and the reason I say that, we kind of talk shit on mobile games from time to time here on the podcast, but I think that with this, unlike Stadia, it sounds like Apple knows exactly who their target customer is, and they already have the App Store to just run people straight into this Apple Arcade. I think that it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't really think that we're going to use it. We really don't play a lot of mobile games, but I mean, I can see people taking advantage of this.
I need some vision here. Who is this for? I don't understand it. To me, this Apple Arcade doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think that the App Store kind of fills this role for anybody who's on the Apple platform that wants to play video games at all. Generally, that mobile phone gamer is probably the only person that I can understand that this would be appealing to, but can any of you give me a good direction here?
Yeah, I think that I'm in agreement with you that from my perspective, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I could see they're just trying. This is in response to all the other large companies entering, the video game sphere, and they want to be involved as well. It's going to be strictly, I believe, for trying to get the mobile people. It's going to be people are crazy. None of us are Apple people. People are crazy about their Apple devices and everything, and they spend a lot of time on them, and now they're going to market this Apple Arcade to be this great thing, and it's going to make them feel a part of the video game. And I think that the video game industry, and I think that also that for the gist that I got from it as well is like the mobile games aren't super sophisticated, but like this is like them jumping in and starting to add some like complexity to this is their idea that they're gonna get on, use their platform to like make their own games that are gonna be a little bit more in depth and whatnot to try to
Yeah.
get people in there. But I'm gonna agree with you. They already have it with App Store. They need a name. They need they need the Apple Arcade.
So, so I was like looking over this article, and I do see that there obviously is some indication of mobile gaming. They have a phone like hooked up to that MFI controller. Obviously like to play video games on your phone with a little bit more ease instead of like the touch screen. But some of these trailers for the video games that they already have announced for the Apple Arcade, they don't seem like something that could be run on a phone. I know we've come a long way with technology as far as like mobile gaming on a cell phone, but I mean, Apple hasn't always been known for their. I mean, they give you a really quality product, but not necessarily in the gaming sense for their phones or their PCs. Or I shouldn't
Mhm.
say PCs, their Macs.
Mhm.
Generally aren't geared towards the gamer, but some of these do look like a game that you would play on your PC normally. I don't know, it seemed like Team Sonic Racing and what's this other Oceanhorn 2, Knights of the Lost Realm. Like they looked a little bit more a little bit more involved. Obviously aren't like
Well, I mean,
big
that's what I
time.
kind of meant with
Dude, yeah.
with my piece. You know what I mean? They're trying to get a little bit more sophisticated, in depth, complex games out there. And I mean, we talked about this we say this a lot now because we're getting some podcasts on our
Mhm.
belt under our belt here. But what the hell was I gonna say?
I mean, hey, we say it a lot, so it's probably in another one.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Well, I guess, yeah, Adam, I think you're right. I mean, they do look like graphically, they're like a little bit more intensive than at least like what I'm used to seeing like on the mobile side. But I guess like with something like the new Diablo coming out, like I don't know, maybe they're just like a little bit simpler, like on the back end, or like a little bit less, like maybe you just don't need as much hardware to get them going. I mean, I have no idea, but I don't know, like that Sonic Team Racing, like graphically it looks like okay, but I wouldn't think that it's gonna be like
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's hard to say. I kind of threw something out there. It's going to be kind of hard to judge at this moment, but
yeah.
knowing Apple, I don't know. It seems like to me that they do a really good job at kind of designing the hardware, the device to the function kind of thing. Like the iPod, the iPad,
Yeah.
the iMac Pro, things like that. That I mean, do you think it'd be possible that they would do like something just to play Apple Arcade, like a gaming?
I don't think they need to. I think that this is just gonna like interface with all their other devices and everything. And to go back real quick, because I remember what I was gonna say, is Dave said in a former podcast, which is a good point. Like the cell phone industry, like that's a good, like that's a good way to approach it because that's like always developing at such like a rapid pace, right? So like this may be like as I'm saying with all the things with Stadia that they were doing it they're doing it preemptively and then all these things are going to be in place for them. Like Apple may be doing that with like maybe they know that they're going to have the technology to have more advanced games on their devices and everything. So we're just seeing it early.
Well, I'm gonna jump in here for a minute, and Wolf was saying like how he doesn't really get why it's gonna be like Apple Arcade. Like, why can't you just get it from the App Store?
Mhm.
I think part of it is like they have deals with like Disney and Sega and Lego and all these things to like bundle games that are specifically for Apple Arcade. So I think that's kind of what they're gonna like make things specific for Apple Arcade to like draw people into it.
Hmm.
So it's gonna, you know what I mean? Like those games are gonna be like hidden in Apple
Yeah.
Arcade. You're gonna
Yep,
have to
yep,
get
yep.
You're gonna have to subscribe to get these games, and like
Right.
might
Yeah.
work, might not. But part of the thing for me is too, I feel like now, like fucking everything is a subscription, right?
Uh,
And like I feel like people are starting to burn out on
Yeah,
that.
you gotta
So
like sign your
that-
life away every time you try to
right,
get some.
that scares me because like think about how many things are subscription now. Like and like it doesn't sound that bad when you're like, oh, $10 a month, but like when you're subscribing to all these fucking
Yeah,
things,
it adds up.
it's a lot of money. So like that's the only thing. I mean, it is Apple, and like they have like Apple's basically like a fucking cult, right? People love Apple,
Exactly.
so it'll probably be fine. But I just feel like at some point we're gonna get to the point where people are gonna get fucking tired of subscriptions. Because I know, like even me personally, like it's like everything's a fucking subscription now, and it's like a pain in my ass.
Yeah, it's like it's hard for me to even like remember like what I'm subscribed to all the time and like what the prices are and like what my passwords are and stuff. Like I know that that's like that like I should probably just have that locked down and it's like not like that big of a deal, but like honestly, like I have so many different things going on that I just can't keep them all straight.
I think the majority of people
everybody has that problem.
I mean, you literally have to have a password for every little thing. Granted, it's a little off topic, but I mean, literally just like one more thing to throw in there, that subscription fee that you bring up. I'm sure like we're, probably like 50% of people are probably paying for something that they just don't even use anymore. This is probably one of those things that just hope
We've
people
all
It's like
done
the
it.
gym.
about
It's like
it.
the gym subscription, and nobody goes in
Yeah.
the goddamn gym. You know,
Is Apple Arcade the gym subscription then? I don't. Kind of a funny thought. I mean, you see
no,
it.
I think Dave brought it up, man. These people, it is like a call. They're gonna like think it's cool. Like, yeah, you been on Apple Arcade, man. Like, see the new game that came out.
You know, the fear with the subscription is like once you get it and say you play it for 4 months and you have like 3 games that you play, like not that that's like that much time invested, but like then like all of a sudden you don't want to cancel it because you don't want to lose those games because like you've put time into those and you have like progress. Because once you get rid of Arcade, like I mean, I don't, like I said earlier, like I don't know if like they'll get rid of your save states and stuff, but I would think like you would lose all access to that and like you're pretty much just done with the games. So like once they lock you in, like, you know, there's that fear of like missing out on what you've been playing for the last couple of months. So they kind of like they kind of got you, right?
Yeah.
And just to go back to it, like the subscription thing is just it's like getting crazy for me. Because like think about it, if you want to play Xbox, you want to play PlayStation, you want to play Switch, you have to pay for the online subscription if you want to play online. If you want fucking Netflix, you want Hulu, you got to pay subscription. If you want that, everything's a subscription. It's like, I mean, people obviously will still pay for it, but I feel like at some point, like people are just gonna get over it and burn out on it. Because like personally, I am. It's like it's annoying to have to like have all these things like monthly fucking payments every month, and like it doesn't seem like a lot, but like it adds up. It really does.
Yeah, I don't think that people are gonna get burnt out on it. I think the normal person is just like it's the way it is now, and they're just gonna keep on subscribing to more and more shit, and they're gonna just be like wasting money and giving it to these companies. That's the way I think it's for most people, I would say.
I mean, that's definitely the way it is right now. I just like for me personally, like I just there has to be a tipping point, right? I just it's too much.
Yeah.
Everything.
I feel like Dave kind of like tied it back around to my point here where, I mean, do you really want the subscription for these games? I'm looking at the list of the supposedly confirmed games that are going to be appearing on it. Nothing is really something I personally would pay any amount of money to have access to. And I feel like it's a lot more appealing just to be able to go into the App Store and just or the Google Play Store and just be able to buy what you want, and just not pay for what you don't need.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be moving everything over to the arcade, though, is maybe the issue. So, like, I don't know if you'll be able to do that anymore.
Right. See, that's the thing. I mean, you say that it would make sense for them to do that. I totally agree. But then you look at this like presentation slide, and literally on the phone, it's like across the bottom, like things to tap to get into. It's like today's news, a tab for games, a tab for apps, and then a tab for arcade. So like apparently you can, at least for now, you'll be able to probably play games outside, maybe the old games, maybe all new games will be in the arcade.
Maybe what will happen is the games are maybe still available to you, but you'll have to pay for them.
You think all those
outside of Apple Arcade, and then you get them for cheaper or for free, obviously, if you pay the subscription. So I
Like
think I think it would be wise for them to make that decision that you can still purchase these games and not force them into buying the Apple Arcade, because then there's going to be people who want to play particular games but don't want to pay the monthly subscription, like Dave here.
Well, it seems like the newer games that's not going to happen for, at least.
Yeah.
It seems like they'll be just strictly arcade, and you'll need the subscription in order to play them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that may. Yeah.
I think that's kind of like the whole point. I actually almost like see the arcade as like the arcade release. To me, it seemed like they wanted to kind of get into gaming like a little bit, and like this is their way to get their foot in the door. And like the arcade release is like the marketing team's way of like showing that like it's a separate new thing.
Yeah, and that makes sense, but it also makes sense to me that they would still allow you to like why wouldn't they take money for a particular, like people buying particular games? Like it doesn't make sense to me that it wouldn't be available both to buy particular games. But I just wanted to go real quick and say that this is just another thing that everyone's caught on, these large companies. They know that video games are going to be like the future, and there's a lot of money to be made. So this is Apple doing their thing, right? And they're just this is their way to get in, or at least give the idea that they get in so they can make some money from it, right? They may not even be like super invested in it. They just want to be like, hey, here's our gimmicky video game thing, buy it up.
It's like the light video gamers like package, like not to bash on these games that are in here, but I'm sure Frogger and Toy Town's going to be really successful. But I mean, some of these games like Mr. Turtle, Spider Soars, UFO on tape,
I think
First
it's for
Contact.
It sounds like it's for younger kids, a lot of it.
Yeah. This isn't for us, but
no,
it might be for somebody.
It's for the Apple people. It's for Apple people, and I think that is a good point, Matt. It is for the younger generation to get hooked on. Because think about it, man. You go to the grocery store, you go anywhere, and all these parents just have their kids on their devices, right? I mean,
man. Every kid's got an iPad attached to their hip.
Yeah, the iPad, the iPhone. Oh, they always have that. The iPad seems like it's the usual suspect, right? They got the big iPad like sitting out in the grocery cart, like, Mom, help me do that.
Yeah, it's a little wild. My last point here, and we've touched on it a little bit, but it's just like, with Apple getting in and Google getting in, like, how do you guys feel about these like big tech giants, like, kind of like trying to force their way into gaming?
Me personally, I don't think that it's going to affect people who have been here for a long time, like our friends, and basically people who are like 26 and up. It's not going to affect. We're going to still continue on our PC path, or we got to see what happens with Google Stadia. But the console gamers will still stay true to their particular consoles, Microsoft or Sony. But they're trying. They're going to try, and we'll see if they're going to be successful. I don't think that they really they're not offering anything that's going to draw in people who are, passionate about video games, right?
Probably not.
They might not be like wild successes, but I think that they have enough like people that use Apple products or Android products or Google products or whatever. That there enough people will have exposure to it that they will still be like profitable.
Yeah.
For sure. Like there's just, you know what I mean? Like they have the base already there.
Yep.
So I think they'll definitely make money, but it's just to what degree? Like, is it just okay, or like does it really take off and like become the next big thing?
Yeah, and if something like this works, like, if they do have success in this, like, I mean, Apple, like, I could definitely see them wanting to branch out into gaming even further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And I think that just going off what Dave was saying, I think that they're gonna try to get involved, and like the important thing is, like, I don't think it's gonna be a huge success, but if they're able to hang on for a period of time and make a little bit of money, then they might be able to sink their way into being big in the video game industry, but it's going to take time. I don't. Yeah, it's going to take time.
Well, and then for me, from like an esports perspective too, like if Google and Apple are in the space and they have their own platforms, like they have, a, a lot of like I don't know, hardware power, software power, and money to like fund esports tournaments and shit too. So like
That's true.
that's something to think about.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that at all, actually. Sorry,
And
I'm kind of a little
honestly,
tongue-tied there.
that might be like one of the reasons why they're doing it too, because esports are like growing
Yes.
crazily right now, and like maybe that's one of the reasons why they're doing these things because they want to get in on that revenue stream because it's like every
Yeah,
year it
that's
just gets bigger and bigger.
It's a great point. Or even with something as simple as like a Twitch streaming or something. Like, you
Yeah,
know, I
right.
know that Twitch is Amazon, but like, you know, there's potential for competition there. I know like Google has YouTube like kind of streaming right now, but it's like the YouTube Live like doesn't seem to really be taking off as something major. But like I could see Apple doing something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, just by them expanding like and making these like new things, like it definitely opens the door to a lot of other things like esports and whatnot.
Yeah, they just know that they have to get involved. That this is going to be something that it's going to just keep expanding because society is accepting it more and more people playing it, and the newer generation is more in tune with video games and everything. You know, the older generation was like a little apprehensive. They're like, oh shit, what is this weird shit? Go out and throw the football, or like now it's like now like we said, parents are just like throwing the shit at them to like
Yeah, well,
get them
and like
away.
go back to Ben's point a while ago, like talking about how like every little kid has like an iPad or is like on their parents' iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Like people like us, like older, like a little bit older people, like more adults, like we're kind of like like we like what we like in regards to video games. So maybe we're not going to subscribe to it because we don't want to spend the money. But like a little kid, they're not paying for it anyway. They're just like, Mom, please buy this for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
if I'm a parent and like if my kid wants to play a bunch of games that like for $10 a month, I mean, I'd probably buy it for him.
Yeah, right. So that target market is probably
Yeah,
a pretty good target
anything that gets him off of Fortnite, I guess.
Yeah,
But
You guys convinced me.
I'm down with
for
that.
sure. You
Did
guys
we-
definitely convinced me. Yeah, I can totally see parents. In I can see a lot of parents doing this for their children. Have a library of video games, easy access. Parents don't know much about games, don't really care to handpick their video games for
They
their
know
kids,
it's not
kind of
like
thing.
Resident Evil or something.
Yeah, right. And then I'm sure there'll be a few gems, scattered here and there that avid gamers may just pick this up if they have an Apple product, just to give it a chance, give it a try, kill some time on while they're traveling, that kind of thing. But I don't ever see myself.
Yeah. Plus, you can play them offline, which is like one thing we talked about Stadia not being able to do. So that's
That's important. Yep.
But all right, let's jump down to Stadia Part 2. I'm actually like kind of dying to have this conversation because like I kind of thought of these things like after I listened to the first podcast we had on this from last week. Let's talk about pricing because like with their potential pricing model, like I want to talk about how it could eventually affect like things like Steam and Epic and really just like the industry as a whole. And like the only two pricing options I can really see being viable, and by viable, like I'm not sure either one will actually work. Like I'm actually having trouble like finding out like how Stadia and developers are going to make money off of this. I like can't wrap my head around it. But like the two pricing models that I can see are, one is like a monthly subscription fee, maybe like $20 or $30, that gives you access to all games on Stadia, and like you don't have to pay for games that are on there. Like you get access to everything instantly, right? And then the second one would just be like a free Stadia service, but you have to pay for the games that you play individually. So like I really want to talk about the first one, the subscription fee for Stadia, because like if I were a developer, I would never want to put my game on Stadia because I would make like severely less money, right? Like if it's on Google Stadia and you can pay Google $30 a month to play my game like for, I guess, like technically free at any time instantly, I could never put it onto another platform like a Steam or an Epic Game Store because like nobody would pay an upfront price to play it because they can just like get Google Stadia and have access to like a bunch of games plus mine, right? like, what would this do to the industry, I guess, is like my main point here. Like, how would Steam or Epic like ever get developers to put, or developers or publishers to put their games on their platforms? And really, like, this somewhat reminds me of like what Spotify did to the music industry. It was great, like, from a user standpoint. Like, I love Spotify, but like, artists like almost make no money from their songs being played, and I can see this going the same route for developers.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we're the way that this is framed is that like it's going to be, we're viewing this as Stadia being this huge thing, and it's going to be implemented, and it's going to be a large part of the video game industry. We don't know that yet. If that's kind of framed like, if that were the case, if they are going to be large and they are going to have a lot of developers with them and whatnot, then yes, that would be understandable way to look at it. But I think that it's going to be more like they're going to be developing their own games. They may have, you know, some contracts with big developers that they're going to have some big name games on there. But I think in general, I think this is going to be a lot more. They're just going to ease their way in, right? And I think that I don't think it's going to be a monthly subscription. I'm like sold that it's not going to be, because like you said, it doesn't make sense. And I think it's going to be free.
But I mean, like, how does that work? So
I don't.
So it's free. Well, then why the heck do I want to use Google Stadia and still pay for my games when I can just get them on Steam and just play them like on my own terms?
Well, it's because, it's gimmicky to me, and they're not going to get, you know, real gamers, I don't think, but you can play it on any device, you know, and it's this new thing, and like people are just going to buy it, and if they like it, they're going to stay with it. And I think a lot of people are going to buy it, and they're going to just like, it's going to be this thing that they have to, you know, have when their friends come over and they can play or whatever. But I think that this is more marketed towards people who, you know, we said it time and time again on the last podcast, it's marketed towards people who either are not into video games yet, or are just like, you know, the layman video game player, right?
I want to let somebody else jump in, but I'm just not seeing it. I'd like Adam, Dave, I'd like to get your opinion, but I can't, like I said, I can't see a pricing model that works. I don't know why developers would want their games on here. I just don't know who wins in this.
Well, the way I see it is something modeling something similar to like a PlayStation Plus, where you would pay for the service initially to have access to it. And like what that would get you is like maybe a certain level of free games that you'd have access to on Stadia that you'd be able to stream at any time. And then you would have the larger game developers, publishers, putting out, you know, the top tier games, where you would still pay for these games, but you would pay a reduced price, you know, based on that you're already paying for this subscription to the Stadia. And then Google just kind of would obviously eat that difference in the cost for you to stay on Stadia, but then you'd still have access to, you know, the games that are releasing on Steam and Xbox and PlayStation, that kind of thing. I mean, one other thing you could look at, then it's becoming way less prevalent, but that, you know, like console, PC specific video games, you know, that might be something that is just completely phased out with something like a Google Stadia. I guess time would have to tell for that, which would be kind of cool, you know, sounding to me, because I like the idea of maybe getting like an NHL game that I could play anywhere. I haven't had that in a while, but just one little tidbit idea that I had about it. That's the only way I can honestly see it working, is something where you do pay for it and you also pay for the games. Everybody wins there, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe. I don't think, like, I don't know that like anybody really wins like a ton there, though. It seems like very minimal margins, like, for all parties involved.
But everybody already does it.
Yeah,
for-
it's.
I mean, since we're on the subject of like we've been talking about subscriptions, I think it's going to be subscription based,
So do
because
I.
that's just kind of how the world works now.
So
and
do
like,
I.
You want to make a bet?
I mean, if you, yeah, sure, why the fuck not? So my thing is gonna be
$20.
it's gonna be subscription, right? I think it really has to be. I don't think it works if it's not. And if it is subscription, it's just like they're gonna have to like the developers and game creators are gonna have to get money based on how many so a person paying a subscription, right? It'll be based on like the total hours they play and it'll be allocated to the subscription fees. The developers will get paid based off that. So like if I download one game for this month and that's all I play, then you know what I mean, they would get the full cut of my subscription fee. But like if I played 2 games, I played them each 8 hours this month, then it would be split. And it would divvy out based on how many hours you play each game, not just if you play the game.
I mean, that's kind of how
Like,
I'm imagining it too, because that's what makes the most sense. But like,
I don't know like how else could it work.
But like
other than
from
that?
the developer side, like again, like they get so screwed there, and that's like why I related it back to Spotify. Like, if I make like a brand new game and pour a bunch of money into it, like if I release it on Stadia and people can pay and play it for like a $20 monthly subscription, like I can't recoup like any of my revenue quickly enough like to making the game worth it.
Yeah, I well,
Like,
in that regard,
we're already seeing developers like having like struggling to make ends meet and having like to
Oh,
release
yeah.
games
Well, yeah.
early. And I mean,
Yeah, it's
this
cash
doesn't
flow
help. This doesn't help that. This really hurts that.
right, I agree. It's cash flow problems mostly. You know what I mean?
It
Because
is
like
cash flow. Yeah.
I think from the subscription standpoint, like in the long run, you can probably make more money because like eventually, you would think that people would pay more in subscription fees than what you would pay for a game eventually. Then you know what I mean? If they pay
Yeah,
$60 for the
as
game
long
where
as
you get your cut.
I guess as long as the
Yeah.
game could be popular for that long. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That and then what was I gonna say? Holy shit. I lost my train of thought. Fuck me.
Well, yeah, I think that like I don't know why you're putting so much emphasis on like you don't know how you think it's gonna work. Like I don't
Because
think
it's really
that they would.
because it's really important. That's why we haven't seen a pricing model yet, because I think they're still trying to figure it out.
No,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like I think it's gonna be free, but I don't know, and I don't think it's gonna like they have to have this work out. Like that's probably one of the first things that they thought of is like how are we gonna get paid? Like before they go through all this work to like enter the video game industry and have this like innovative idea and shit. Like there's no way. They've already got it figured out. They're just holding on to it.
I agree with you, but like I'm really I'm a lot more skeptical of this after I thought about it again than the first time. And I was skeptical the first time we talked about it, and like I've really been rethinking the pricing model. I do not know how it will work for all parties involved.
I'm surprised you guys. I don't know, so hung up on it. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I know Ben has a different viewpoint than me, but I think that. So what do you pay for like an Xbox or a computer? Like anywhere from like $200 to $600 to $800. So I mean, you take that, you turn that that's the cost. That's the monthly subscription right there. They're housing the hardware for you.
Mm.
More than likely already paying for internet,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pay per game just like you would anywhere else.
Yep.
For the same price that you would have bought it on Steam.
Well, and
or something.
obviously
you just
they're
don't
not
have
gonna-
a
You
computer.
but then you have all the problems of like everything else that we've talked about, like the lag and
Right.
the latency and stuff that like
Right.
nobody wants to deal with
Yeah.
anyway. That's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
That-
Like
that's the end.
any
the
way you look
unknowns.
at it, it's like
I'm not saying it's a good idea or a great thing to do.
I'm
but
not saying that either. I just
I
think,
think
that it's
you can
more
do
thought
it.
out than we're,
Yeah.
I
They're
don't
they're just holding on to it, man.
I
Believe
just-
me.
I disagree, 100%. I disagree.
You think these gigantic companies don't know how they're gonna get paid? Like that's why they're entering this shit, man. Is to
I
get
mean,
paid.
we'll see. I'm saying I am super skeptical.
Yeah, it's something that it's gonna be new. That's for damn sure.
Can
I mean,
I-
it has to take off. It has to take off early. It can't be something that they roll out and it like takes 3 years to catch on. Like they need
Yeah.
to have some success and make money on this early, or they're going to shut it down.
Well, I'm also wondering. We haven't talked about this. Is like there's a controller. Like you're gonna have to pay for that controller. They're not just gonna be at the mall.
I think you can
Shipping
play.
out
I think you
people-
can play with any controller.
Any controller?
Yeah, the Stadia is just like that controller's like the official one, but I'm pretty sure you can use other
Oh,
controllers.
okay. Wow.
Well, what the heck do you
Yeah,
Look
that's
it up.
fucking crazy,
Your
man.
TV.
I'm
Then
not
you need
sure.
like TVs that can like interface.
I think
with
you
this
have to. I'm not
controller,
positive.
Right?
I think you need that controller in order. But I don't know. I don't know. That's pure speculation on my part. But Dave, what were we gonna say? Sorry.
I think so. I think there's one thing that we really, really, really overlook that's really, really important. And like, yeah, sure, developers are making these games, and like they're gonna get, you know what I mean? They're gonna get a cut of the subscription revenue or whatever. But like, I think the big thing is if the games still have microtransactions, does it really matter? Because like that's how a lot of
Ooh.
games, that's how they are now. Like they make like all the money. Like a lot of games are free to play, and you just make the money from microtransactions. So
Right.
paying, if now you're paying for a subscription and you're getting like the companies are getting subscription revenue, which is basically like paying for the game, and then they still get microtransactions, that's actually pretty fucking good for them.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But the games that they were showing at the presentation or whatever were mostly like one player games. So that'd be like more content, or I don't know how this is gonna work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the games like in question are definitely like the AAA titles, like
Yeah.
the big like
Assassin's
40, 50,
Creed.
$60 RPGs
Yep.
that you're probably not. There's probably not many microtransactions, probably some
Well,
DLC,
dude, what if
things like
this is
that.
like, what if this is like they're gonna like add like you could change the RPG, the main character's skins or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think that's a big factor in this whole thing is the microtransaction portion of it. Because
I
I
like
agree
hope
with
not,
you.
Dave. Ugh, that's a nightmare.
I could
That's-
totally see that.
that's a
And-
big like
And
that's how
unless the advertising revenue or something is heavy enough like to carry everything else. But in order to have that advertising revenue, you got to have like a huge user base to advertise to, right? And then like you have to have players okay with being advertised to like constantly, like on top of already like paying a monthly subscription as well.
Well, yeah, right. If
It's
you're paying for a
like-
subscription, like I don't want advertisements.
No,
That
of
would piss
course
me
not.
off.
I think
Of course
people are
not.
starting to get used to ads, though, man, with YouTube and
Yeah, but I don't
YouTube's
think
free.
anything paid.
Twitter.
YouTube's
There's
free.
ads.
Well, it's free.
Once you get into the
Yeah.
paid,
I'm not saying
subscription
this is
thing-
going to be free.
I don't think it's gonna be free.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you were saying it was going to be free. Then I mean, if there's no way that they're going to make you pay for it and then show you ads on top of it, that's an impossible. That'll never work.
No, yeah. That's why it's
no
going
one
to
will
be free.
use it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be free. It's going to be a subscription. I just don't see it working any
We
other
got
way.
till July, boys. If we would work on a bet here.
Yeah, I mean we'll see, like, and again, like, I'm sorry for coming at this from like a super negative light, but like every time I go to think like, okay, well, like if they do this pricing model, like then this will work, and then I'm like, wait, no, because like then like there's this, and then I'm like, okay, well, like maybe like they could do this, but like, oh wait, like the latency, and it's like there's always
Yeah.
something that's like roadblocking the way, like for this to have like a major success from my perspective. I just like every time I go to try to figure it out, I hit this like major roadblock in my mind.
Even without that, I just don't think it's going to be a major success because it's not going to latch on to the people, the main people who are gaming is the thing. So we'll see. This is just a big question mark
Yeah.
over our head.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot we don't know about it yet. And like I said before, I think the microtransaction part of it is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking of that. That's a really good point. And it probably does sound like it is going to be, but I don't want it to be, man. No.
So let's take some time to talk about the scare of like losing all of your games if you get banned from Google Stadia or something. For like whatever, like typing something in the chat that they don't agree with or whatever it may be. Because that's something we didn't touch on a lot last week, and I feel like it is a big issue, and we've talked about it like being an issue already with just like playing something like League of Legends, and you get banned by Riot, like you can't play League anymore. But like something like Stadia, if it does get like huge, then like everybody's gonna be playing like all of their games on this, presumably. You lose your membership to that, like what other option do you have? Like you lose everything.
Yeah.
That's kind of frightening.
Yeah.
And that's always a big factor for me, that kind of stuff.
Well, think about this. So if you get
'Cause-
banned on Stadia, are you banned on YouTube too? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, is it all going to be connected? Because they
you-
can really fuck you over.
Can you use email anymore? I don't know.
Right. No more Gmail.
Well, and like my biggest problem with like that kind of stuff too is like if you're getting banned, it's subjective, right? And I don't like things that are subjective that have that big of consequences. I don't like that. Because like
Yeah.
who's you know what I mean? Someone like you could say something that's like generally people would say is not offensive, but if the person issuing the ban or whatever thinks it is, you're screwed.
Right.
So like I don't like the subjectivity of it. That scares me a lot.
Yeah. They don't have the technology isn't there yet where they can identify people who are actually making saying things that are against their rules and regulations. Like they can pinpoint it, but a human has to review that. So then that's when it comes into, that was the whole thing with Twitter. That was their thing, was like, yeah, we have the program set up to like identify it and like flag it, but then the human has to review it, and then like you said, that then it turns into a subjective situation, and they're all fucking crazy.
Especially just like the current climate, it's of like outrage culture and everybody getting mad about everything. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's scary that you can just say something that generally wouldn't be seen as offensive and get screwed for it. It's scary.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Especially
I'm
not
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 that scared
only
of it. It just sucks.
yeah, yeah, I'm not scared of it, but it just sucks. Like if you invest all that money and all that time into something, and then it can just be taken away because somebody thinks that you're being a jerk. Like I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are definitely right. It is a scary prospect, but I'm honestly not too worried about it. I would imagine they kind of adopt a stance that like Steam has, where I'm not sure the specifics of how you would ever get banned from Steam, but like where you can get banned from individual games, like based on your conduct, like in that game, whether you're cheating or whether you're saying things that are inappropriate. Like those individual games can ban you, and granted, you aren't like locked out from your whole Steam account. Like that's not what can happen. But I would imagine you would have to do something incredibly egregious.
Right.
I don't to get banned from,
Well,
unless
I mean,
like
this is
stealing games or something from Google Stadia. I don't know.
yeah. I kind of agree with you. You might be right there. Again, this is all gonna just be like what could potentially happen. But like, I think Steam's a little different because you purchase those games and like you do own them to a certain extent. I mean, you're it's through Steam, and I get that. But like, on Stadia, like if you're just paying a subscription or something, like you're only actually paying for Stadia. So it's like a little bit different there. I could still see it going the way that you're talking about, but I could see it swinging the other way as well.
Yeah, I could see it the way that you're talking about as well, Wolf. Like, if they had a bunch of offenses on different video games, then they might be like, all right, well, you're off the platform. You're off Stadia. But I think that the only reasonable way, and they'd have to concede to this because it would be extremely unreasonable, that it would have to be on a game case by case.
Yeah. I guess just to close off the Stadia conversation, I promise this will be the last Stadia talk we have for a while. I know it's 2 weeks in a row, barring like any like major news that would come up about it or something. Like if they did come out with a pricing model, like for sure, obviously, like I would again put it on the docket because like we can't miss it. Does anybody have like any wrap up that they want to say? I won't make any more comments. I've painted it in a negative light enough already, I think. But if somebody wants to say something, just like to conclude it, be my guest.
No, I'm not getting it.
There's my comment.
All right, everybody. Ben's officially out.
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah, I'm not going to be one of the first people that's checking out Stadia.
What if I get it on the first one? I'm like a huge fan.
Yeah.
You guys better get on here.
He's like sponsored by Stadia.
I'm playing it like all day, every day. Got it on different devices. I'm like, it's so cool, dude. You can go to your pad, you can go to the TV, then you can go back to your PC, man. Sick.
You can go to the gym with it. Great.
Yeah, I'm in the gym playing.
If you got to take a dump or whatever, you can just like you know what I mean? You can switch to mobile and play it while you're taking a shit. You don't have to pause it.
I'm always plugged in, bro. Stadia. That's where it's at.
That's their marketing. I'm always plugged in.
Yeah, I'm always,
You're always
I'm always plugged in.
What a
All right,
mess.
let's yeah, it is a mess. Let's jump down to trending. So EA this past week laid off 350 employees, mainly from its marketing and publishing departments. The company had a total of about 9,000 employees before this happened. Here's a quote from the EA CEO, Andrew Wilson. "We have a vision to be the world's greatest games company," he wrote. "If we're honest with ourselves, we're not there right now. We have work to do with our games, our player relationships, and our business." Those laid off did receive severance packages, and it was released that many people had kind of saw this coming within the company from October. I don't know if they knew that they themselves individually were going to be let go, but they knew that there were major changes coming to these departments. Obviously, this is a super bummer for people losing their jobs, but they may move on to bigger and better things in the future. You never know. I'm sure working at EA is pretty good for your resume. But I found it interesting that the cuts were to marketing and publishing, mainly due to the advertising discussion we had a few weeks ago, around Twitch streamers getting money from companies directly. And I actually think that this was EA that did this, Ninja getting the $1 million for Apex. And if you can advertise with a streamer and directly have access to your target demographic, maybe you don't need as many marketing specialists in your company.
It makes sense. I mean, I don't know if you could directly attribute Ninja to the success that game's having, but I'm sure it had some impact. I'm sure they're seeing it as a good way to move forward. Wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing this much more often. And Grant, I mean, that's a lot of people to let go. But
yeah, that is a big number.
But I mean, if you could just redirect that money in a much more effective way, I guess it's better as a whole.
I mean,
I don't know who this is benefiting, but other than EA, I'm not crazy about.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of employees to lay off, but if you're laying off positions that are not non-essential basically, I mean, I'm not saying they're non-essential, but things that they're not really generating revenue, they're just support roles, where advertising or customer assistance or whatever.
Mhm.
And if you're redeveloping or if you're reallocating those resources into development and stuff to make the games better, I'm all for that. And I think Activision just did this recently, and other companies are doing it. And I think I'm hoping that when they're doing this, I mean, Activision at least said they were allocating more of the resources to development, which is I think an awesome thing for the consumer. But I mean, if that ends up what they're actually doing, they're cutting these jobs to increase development and make better games, I'm all for it. Yeah, you feel bad for the people that lost their jobs, but as far as getting better products, I would think that would help.
I can't see it, man. I'm kind of down. I'm not kind of down. I'm really down on EA, and this vision to be the world's greatest
That was just
games company.
I was gonna say this, yeah.
I don't think. I don't think that them firing 350 people is going to be the solution.
Yeah. I think that I think he's right. They're definitely not there right now, being the world's greatest. I think
World's greatest.
pretty far off. And I was actually kind of thinking, I mean, this is probably more public relations, but I think marketing as well. If their goal is to be thought of as the world's greatest games company, somebody hasn't been doing the right thing, because they're maybe in last place in the running for that right now. Maybe in people's hearts and minds.
At least in the past 6 months, that's for damn sure. 100%. I mean, they kind of have redeemed themselves with Apex, but there's a lot of problems with Apex. I mean, I can't log in my fucking account right now. You know what I mean?
I had to just uninstall
that's pretty
it.
important.
I had to uninstall it last night. I couldn't play the game.
Yeah, you couldn't log in either. Yeah,
No, I had to get rid of it.
It's crazy, man. It's I think he should take that statement back and say we are really, really fucking far away from the world's greatest games.
I think he should issue us a public apology.
Yeah, seriously. No, but I mean, face value, this seems good. He's conceding and saying there's problems and they need to get a lot better. But it's like, I don't really care what you say, man. Do it. You know what I mean? Like you guys are a huge company. Like, show us, right?
Oh yeah, they could definitely be the greatest games company.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't have to do a ton, I would say, to really impress a lot of people, and I don't think anybody's really going for that. I think they're still going for the money.
I mean,
Yeah.
they do make some really polished games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they look fantastic, but yeah, they just riddle them with so much bullshit.
Dude,
you can't stand to play it. By the time you pay for it, and you're like, oh my god, like, just get this game off my computer, please.
So what I'm wondering right now, this just popped up in my head. We are seeing a lot of bugs and problems with video games recently. Is there like, are we having like a crisis where we can't find good or developers, not we, I can't put myself in with them, but developers, can they not find good programmers? Like, can they not find good like software engineers? Like, what is going on here?
I don't think that's the issue. I think it's them rushing the games out and not properly testing everything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Mhm.
I think that I don't think the developers are bad. I think they're given limited time frames because they need to get these games out so they can start making money.
Rushed.
And like there's not as much, like beta testing and bug testing and stuff that there could be, and that's why there's so many bugs now is because of that.
I think especially with a game like Apex, when you get like the free to play model, like the faster you get that out and get those microtransactions rolling, like the better off you're gonna be.
Yeah, but then
if that waits too long, then like you're starting to burn through a lot of cash.
What about Metro Exodus has some bugs that are like not excusable. You know what I mean? Like it's
really?
dude, the flashlight bug. I mean, I guess it's only a particular amount of users, but at some point in the game, you can't use your flashlight anymore. It's like that's a huge mechanic in the fucking game. Like it's dark. You're in the metro, man.
I think it's this culture that we've talked about a lot about, like video games having a lot of success and having and I think Dave always hits this, but like with these companies being public, like they have to make money for their shareholders, and like they have these project roadmaps where they have to get games out in certain months, and their expectations like on these monthly earnings calls and things, where like they need to say that these things are like on schedule. And when that happens, I think especially with like video games that are a form of art, I think some people forget that sometimes, but they are an art form. Like sometimes it's not doable, and then you get things like Fallout 76 and you're like an Anthem, and you're like what the hell just happened?
So many examples, and it's crazy. And that makes sense now that you drew it up like that. When they start cracking the whip on these people who are on the ground level doing this shit, like quality decreases drastically, because they don't understand, right? Because they're just trying to push the game out, but they don't understand that like something like this takes time and patience.
Yeah, I just think it's them rushing out games. I think the developers are probably very good. It's just they're not taking the time to do the bug testing and the that kind of stuff as thoroughly as they used to. So like games go out and you don't get the bugs until the people play them. You know what I mean? You can't simulate all those scenarios until you have millions of people playing your game. It's just how it works.
And like Dave always says, if 5 million people buy your game anyway, who cares?
Yeah, right.
I mean, until people stop buying this stuff. Yeah,
yep,
right.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's what we were that's what I was hoping for, and I know you guys are as well. Like, and I'm hoping that the pushback's there and they wise up. And I had my prediction, Ben Stradamus. I had my prediction.
You got a lot of predictions.
They're coming. They're starting to come out. They're starting to pile up.
That's true.
But I think that we're gonna see these developers starting to take their time and stop getting in these scenarios where they are cracking the whip, like you said, Matt. Like, hopefully.
Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah. Hopefully. Let's jump down to this next one. So we've seen some calls for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice to potentially get an easy mode. So the main article that this came from was written by Dave Tier. He's a contributor to Forbes. And this was titled Sekiro Shadows Die Twice needs to respect its players and add an easy mode. And in this article, he argues that there are players without the commitment, drive, or quick reaction times needed to complete the game, and will never be able to beat it. He also makes the claim that the existence of an easy mode would have no bearing on the original game at all, as players could still play it, with the normal difficulty if they choose to do so. I kind of get what he's saying. I have Sekiro. I love From Software's games, and I love the Souls series. It is really hard. Like, I'm having a lot of trouble with it. I think it's actually like more difficult just from like the combat system switch to like a super fast-paced Sekiro versus like a shield-heavy Dark Souls. I have two main points. Like, one, the difficulty is up to the developer. Like, they're the ones providing the game to you and want like you to experience like the game in the version that they intended you to do or to play it in. And like when it comes to like a Souls game, like I feel like the whole game's built around the difficulty. Like if you make it way easier, like a player's just gonna fly right through it, and then like what game are you really left with at that point?
Yeah, it's a perfect point. I mean I mean it really is up to the developer. Their vision, how they expect you to see and experience. What they're producing for you. I mean that's what you're paying for. You want their intentions. I think. In easy mode, I get you. This guy wants people to be able to beat the game and apparently get to the end of it. But some games it's like it's more about the journey than the destination, right? In some instances. I mean, granted, I'm sure this game is incredibly hard. I haven't played this one, but I played From Software's other iterations, almost all the Souls games, and I also really enjoy them. But I couldn't even imagine putting in a lower difficulty on any of those games because it just wouldn't be this game. It wouldn't be anywhere near as enjoyable. I can earnestly say I think that there is no way that the games would be anywhere near as successful if you had that lesser difficulty option, because I'm sure at any point, anybody that's played the games would probably cave in and switch over to it.
Mm-hmm.
And just face roll the rest of the game and just kind of cheat themselves out of it. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah. Good points. Very good points. I think that, it's an art form and we should not be imposing on the developer, especially when we're dealing with a really successful developer who's made some really good games and kind of made like their own hardcore genre here. And that's what it is, right? And I get it. And the thing that concerns me is like you have to look at like where's this guy coming from? Like it sounds like he's coming from a position to like, oh, let's get everybody to enjoy this. But really, I think what's going on here is that he has an ideology in his head, and that's inclusiveness. It has to be available to everybody. Everybody should be able to beat it. Oh, like that's why he's doing this. He's not doing this because he truly thinks that, he wants everybody to experience it. And it's probably a great game. It's beautiful. They would love the story. No, he's thinking we need to get everybody on there. That's the way it has to be. So that's why I don't like it. And like I said, it's an art form. Let's stop imposing on the developers. They're selling, a lot of these games. They're making a lot of money. This game is a huge success from a sales standpoint, from what I've heard. So let's just leave them alone. I understand people want to play the game and beat it. I understand the easy mode thing, but there's no way that you should be trying to force it on the developer, like for your ideas.
Yeah, I think that those are all great points, Adam. I really liked what you said about like the journey and not maybe the destination. I think that that's really true, and like I think that people need to remember that like games are still games. At least I think they are. I'm not really sure anymore, maybe, but like you do like are still supposed to play them, and like have like a little bit of a challenge. I think like they're interactive. Like if you want to just watch a gameplay Sekiro, then hop on Twitch or go watch a YouTube playthrough. If you just want to see the art or the story or something, go ahead. Like that's fine, but like you do still need to like be able to play a game if you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this different mentality now. I don't know. When we were younger, I felt like a lot of games were like really difficult, on those original, like the Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Sega, like that, that era of video game, where I would say the vast majority of those games I saw the ending and they were far too difficult for me to ever complete. But I wasn't like totally turned off from video games, and I wasn't like, damn, they need to put like easy mode in this. Like,
Hmm.
it just made you want to play them more.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's kind of addicting
Got
sometimes.
Yeah, got tougher skin. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean,
You might, your mom might be yelling at you. You got to go to bed, and you're trying to beat something. And you're like, I'm gonna beat that tomorrow. You remember that feeling?
yeah.
I mean, isn't like the definition of a game like that it is challenging and there are like certain
Mm.
rules and boundaries built in and you need to like figure out how to like beat different scenarios within that format? Like, isn't that what a game is? Like, isn't that like what
Yes.
basketball is? Like,
Mhm.
isn't that like what a video game is? Like, isn't that
Mhm.
what chess is?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you got to want something. I mean, it's got to be desirable. And I mean, in this case, the desirability is like the difficulty. I mean, that's what's appealing about these games, that they're so difficult that when you do manage to complete them, or do something, you get a much greater sense of achievement. And to kind of build on that, when you get to a certain point in a game, you learn like the ins and outs, all of its mechanics, and it becomes really easy to you. I honestly feel like that's when I kind of fade away from the game altogether, whether I finished it or not. It's just not fun anymore. There's no point in at least for me, like just totally face rolling all over a game. I just don't. I don't see why I would play it at that point. And I'm not saying that this guy's saying, Dave, you're saying that they need to make the game so easy that everybody's going to be able to beat it. But I
Yeah.
don't think From Software needs to cave on this, and I hope they don't.
Right. Yeah. I don't think they will. I think they're gonna stand strong against this one. But Matt, you made a really good point. These games, they have rules, they have boundaries. Guess who establishes those? The developers. It's their art. They establish, the boundaries, the rules, the characters, etc., etc. And like it's you're stepping into their world, right? It's not your world. So either like figure out how you're gonna get better at the game in order to beat it, and like you're gonna feel better about it. You know what I mean? Like that journey's gonna be better if you get to the end and you get that feeling of accomplishment of doing something difficult.
Yeah. I mean, like, there needs to be different games for different people, I guess, is my last point here, just like to close it off. But like, if you want a really difficult and challenging game that's rewarding, then play Sekiro. If you don't want that, then don't play Sekiro. Go play Super Weenie Hot Generals or something,
It's a good one.
But I mean, seriously, like, you don't have to play Sekiro if it's too hard for you. Like, just play something different. That's okay too.
You're right.
But let's jump down to this last news story. Super Weenie Hot Cheers. Bethesda has confirmed that they're going to be attending E3 this year, which is awesome because I think EA said they're not going to be, and then Sony said they're not going to be as well, which was kind of a bummer to hear. But they did confirm they're not going to be showing anything for the Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield. And I really want to focus on the Elder Scrolls here because I think that that's their biggest franchise, and it's my favorite franchise that they make. I actually like it way more than Fallout. So Todd Howard has asked fans of the series to, please be patient. They're working on it. They want to get it right. And, I think like a consistent theme and mindset that we have is that we talk like a lot about developers being able to do what they want. And like we just did 2 minutes ago. So I think we really are consistent there. And I'd like to stay consistent with that theme. But like, however, like, Morrowind came out in 2002, Oblivion was 2006, Skyrim was 2011. Like, it's been a long time since like we got like a real Elder Scrolls release. Like, we got online, now we have like this mobile game Blades coming out, but like from like a business perspective, it just seems crazy to postpone this by this much. Like, I would think they'd want to get this game out there and like, kind of give the fans what they want and keep everybody excited about the Elder Scrolls franchise. I mean, it's going to make so much money.
You're right. You're right. But I'm more excited that he's still saying this. Todd Howard has his faults with announcements he's made for games in the past and things like that. But the Elder Scrolls series kind of seems like that last bastion. They have a long track record of their games being released in a really good state and being like worth the wait every single time. I was super excited, when I played Morrowind for the first time. That was the first game that I was introduced to. I pumped for Oblivion, which I had bought with the initial like release of the PlayStation 3. It was the whole reason I bought the uh, a system at that time. And obviously Skyrim was like a revolutionary kind of game that really opened a lot of people's eyes to that open world RPG. I feel like um, I don't want to see them rush it out again. I want to see something i- as high a quality that the last three games have been. Um, I know people that love their predecessors too, and I think that asking fans to be patient makes sense. I would imagine they have enough other things going on at Bethesda, trying to fix Fallout 76 than trying to rush out, the next Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And I think we forget about also have the rules online, and I know that they've been putting a lot of resources into making that better because it was garbage for a long time. I know a lot of people didn't like it, so and I've heard that they're doing well now.
Mhm.
So I think some resources were going towards that. But I'm in the middle here. I don't think Matt's definitely not saying like we need to put this shit out. He's just saying like, where's it at? You haven't shown us anything. And I'm in the same boat. I'm like, you haven't seen shit about it,
Mhm.
So I think it's just maybe they're trying to build up the anticipation. And but I'm with you. I like that they're like, be patient and let's make this one a good game.
Yeah,
With no
like my
bugs.
my main point for this discussion would be like to Matt's point from like a business financial perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have that long of a layoff between games because you're still you still have development costs and they pile up and you're not getting any cash flow back, so I understand that. But we always complain a lot about games not being polished and rushed and everything, so maybe this is us getting our wish of developers taking their time to make a really good game, and maybe that's what we'll get.
Ben Stradamus.
Yeah, no, I think those are all really good points. You guys kind of changed my mind a little bit, talked me down. I think those are good points. I feel like I'm always I'm always like a huge proponent of people waiting and making premium games, right? So
Right.
and I still do want that. I guess I'm not saying that. I think Dave, like what you said, 8 years just seems like a while to me.
Dude.
It's just like it's like my favorite game, so
Yeah, I
it'd be
know.
nice
That's what
to
I was
see
just
some
gonna say.
footage or something. Yeah,
I've
Mhm.
heard you play about or talk about Skyrim before, and you
I
really
love it.
love that game. I mean, I love it too, but like you get in depth with that game, man.
I really like it. All right, that's it for trending. So just 2 game releases and announcements before we wrap. First one is incredible, Divinity: Fallen Heroes. So we love Divinity Original Sin 2. We love Larian Studios. This game is going to be all combat, so like you're going to assemble a team, no story, like no real RPG elements. I don't think. Maybe there's like a small story in between the campaign or something. But you assemble a team and you fight battle after battle in a campaign, and then I've seen it compared to both XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics. What do you guys think?
Good company. Really good company to be
Yeah,
compared
right.
to.
I'm getting goosebumps.
I never played.
Final Fantasy Tactics.
I never played Tactics.
Oh,
I just always hear from you guys how good it is.
the
But I've
job
never.
system, man. Oh, I'm getting faint.
I'm getting faint.
Dude, it's that game is such a classic game. So many cool aspects to it. Like I said, the job system, super complex, but at the same time really easy. You level up, you learn new abilities or spells through the job that you are selected as, and you can switch people's jobs. And as they progress into that job, they can branch off and learn more advanced or be in more advanced jobs. It's a
Awesome.
sick game. I mean, that's just one. That's like the one very small layer to it. The story is amazing, which has nothing to do with Divinity Fallen Heroes. But I'm just going off there because I love Final Fantasy Tactics. But yeah, that this could be really, really cool. I'm wondering if it's probably going to be a grid system or something similar to that, the battle system, because that's what XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics are. Super excited for this. I just wanted to shut up.
Yeah, and Larian's a studio that they seem to take their time and put out some really nice stuff. So
Yeah.
And then last, no, go ahead, Adam.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, if it's being compared to these two games, I mean, this seems like a can't miss for I mean, their genre, the RPGs that they made previously, very similar already to XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics, kind of in the way they played. They're likening them any more than that. This can't be anything but a home run for them.
Yep. And I will say this may create a divide between us, boys.
Why do you say that? I don't know if
Because
anything.
I heard
really,
it's only
I don't
two.
know that, I don't know that anything
I don't
could.
know. This might be the breaker. Should I? This isn't a prediction. This isn't Ben Stradamus going off again. But
Yeah.
I heard it's only 2-player.
Oh, I did hear that too. Maybe you play it in teams.
Well, I don't know. This is gonna be funny to see where we go.
See who the best is. I don't really have a lot of tactics experience though, so I might actually be pretty bad. We'll have to see.
I haven't played it in years, so we will see.
All right. And then we had Borderlands 3. The trailer was announced. I don't have a ton to say on it. I mean, I liked Borderlands and Borderlands 2. They're fun games. I mean, I don't like know necessarily that I'm like super excited for Borderlands 3, but it's a good franchise.
Yeah, it's okay. The 2 really bummed me out.
Yeah.
The ending of 1 just really left a sour taste in my mouth, I think, and I don't know if I'll ever really get back into a Borderlands game. They'd have to really do something special.
Yeah.
And what were you guys saying? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The what was like the 6,000 weapons or something like
no,
that?
more than that.
Ben said like
I don't
more.
even.
Ben said like 2 billion or something.
I don't know how it's possible. It has to be attachments. You know what I mean? It has to be like.
Well, it's like they have like the random loot boxes. I think there's like so many different combinations that you can get that like it ends up like just being this like strange, like crazy high number.
Think about it. Yeah.
It's the last thing I want to hear about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it seems like too much. Well, Adam, you and I played through Borderlands 2, I think, together, right?
Partly,
It was like so much running around and it was like so much running around and like getting point A to point B. I don't even think that we ended up like finishing it.
Yeah. I didn't really like Borderlands that much. I could see why people like it. It had a cool story and everything, but overall it didn't really. I think I beat the first one with my brother, but it didn't really. I didn't really like it, but I did want to bring up that. Did you see that it was either Polygon or Kotaku?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Yeah, and they had said there's an article or something. I'm not saying this is to be factual, but they had said that people were pissed that they didn't announce a battle royale.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's like, are you kidding me? That's like so stupid.
It's like the last. It's like the last thing we need.
It is. It's just clickbait, I guess. Anybody who plays a battle royale is gonna click on that article, you know. And everybody's playing a fucking battle royale, at least one.
Yeah, if you can get Apex to work on your computer.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It sucks.
But all right, let's wrap this up. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk, guys. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for listening as well. Check us out on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you like the content. And also check us out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And hopefully you'll join us next week. Thanks.